we do tutoring in all subjects, but we primarily focus on math and literacy and science. I wanted to be a homeowner, so I was able to purchase a house, and I had roommates, other graduate students at University of Maryland, live with me to help pay the rent because I couldn't afford it. Well, having that house gave me an opportunity to take out a home equity loan, which is what I used in the very beginning of the company. So I took out some equity, you know, kind of didn't necessarily understand all of the debt I was necessarily getting myself into, but I knew I needed some money, and I didn't want to have to ask my dad. You know, I didn't want to have to depend on the family. I felt like if I'm going to take this risk, I wanted it to be on myself. I wanted it to be on me. Took the loan out, started with the private tutoring with only a couple of students. Being from public schools, I knew that I wanted to do more than just sort of help families who could afford the tutoring, but also move to families who couldn't afford the tutoring. And what we did is we started to look into, and I say we, it was actually just me, I don't know why I keep doing it. Now it's a we, but at the time, it was a lot of, you know, but I used to, on all our brochures and pamphlets, I put we. And so I knew I wanted to help out with students who needed tutoring but couldn't afford it. So we started to apply for sort of a status to be able to, as a vendor status with school districts, because right around the same time, the public education system started to look much more favorably at public school private partnerships. You know, so anytime there's a change, I think there's always an opportunity. So here it is. At first, you know, you never really heard of all these partnerships and charter schools movement and things of that sort, but now there's an infusion of what the private industry can bring into education. So we went through the process to become a vendor for DC public schools, for Virginia, for Illinois, because what you have to do is you have to sort of complete an application where you have to show that what you do is research-based, that you have a record of actually improving student performance, and all these other things. And we were able to apply through DCPS and got approved to now be able to serve DC public schools as a contractor to work with the low-income families who need help. And it would be free to them, but we'd get paid through federal education money. So that was a great opportunity. That was great. Here we are, we're approved. But working with the government, there's like, they pay you whenever they want to pay you. You know, 30 days, 60 days. And then not just that, but within the government, schools will pay you whenever. I mean, we've had schools pay us like 6 months later. So here we are in a position to do contract-based work. But I knew that we weren't going to have any cash, and I didn't really have that type of money either.
But you did have tutors at this point, so you were paying people to
Yeah, so
at
this point I had the private tutors, which was fine because, you know, we were doing private tutoring and it was enough to pay the private tutors, but it wasn't enough to support a new infusion of staff to work with hundreds of kids. So we were able to, I was able to get a commercial loan, an SBA loan, which was very fortunate, which you guys should definitely look into.
A VA loan?
SBA, Small Business Association loan, and they have sometimes, like banks, like Amanda had talked about earlier, banks sort of have money set aside to do these small business loans. And the way that I got this loan was actually from a class that I had taken at University of Maryland, and it was a relationship with a guy who, so we had, I was taking, when I was at Maryland, I took MBA classes. So not only was I taking like the PhD level courses, but I wanted, you know, I was interested in business, so I would take the MBA classes. And one of the professors had a commercial banker come in, and he told us at the beginning of the class, he said, you never know where the opportunity is going to open up. He said, everybody who comes into the class, you should follow up with them. And I just happened to stay in contact with this commercial banker, you know, not necessarily knowing I would need the loan, but like they said, you need to look for money kind of before you actually need it. So here this guy is who I met, talked to for 2 years, and the time came to where we needed some money, and I was able to go to him, and I had already had the relationship. So that was it was just totally just following up with what my professor said. He said, you never know where that opportunity will lie. So we needed the money. His name was, so I talked to Tom Knight at United Bank, because the Bank of America didn't want to help. Wells Fargo didn't want to help. They say all this, we lend the most. Yeah, they probably do, like if you're like a $10 million, $20, $30 million net company. But we were like, at the time, I think I remember it was not much. As a matter of fact, Tom told me that our deal was too small, and he sent me off to another guy. And I remember being on the phone with this guy, and he's looking at my my balance sheet or whatever, and he's like, oh, he's like, whatever the number was, he was like, is this how much you make a month? I was like, no, that's how much I made through 6 months, through the half of the year. So I was like, oh, it's not gonna happen now. But luckily, I think with the relationship with Tom, you know, he was able to vouch for the type of company we could be. We ended up getting a loan, and that helped out tremendously. And that, yeah, because what happened is actually Tom, he sat on the charter school board. So here we are, we want to start a tutoring company. He sat on the charter school board for DC Public Charter School. So it's like I said, you don't know. Now, the thing is, because you don't know, you'll meet 1,000 people, and maybe only 2 relationships will go or take you where you need to go. But you don't know which 2 of those are going to be. You know what I'm saying? So as a matter of fact, not only did I follow up with Tom in that class, I followed up with everybody in that class. So here we are, we have the commercial and we're doing contracts, it's good. I have my office space in Bethesda that had staff. And then 2008 comes and the banks are going down, going down. I get a call and now they're like, we're cutting your loan in half. I was like, what? They just said, we're just cutting it in half. And you know, I'm planning that we're gonna have this extra cash to be able to, you know, to be able to continue the business. So they cut the loan in half, just like that. But that was a very hard period because I really did think that at some point, I said, I'm not gonna be able to pay my staff. I said, this is it, because my savings, you know, when you're first starting out the company, you know, you're still using your savings to fund things. I mean, you're still putting a lot of yourself into it, a lot of your fund. So on the books, it looked like our company was doing well because we had all these receivables, but no money in the bank. And then what happened is that I said, all right, I went to my dad, I said, look, Dad, I needed, I don't know how much, I think it was like maybe $15,000, $20,000. And I said, Dad, you know, I'm in this situation. You know, he had always wanted to help out, but like I said, I didn't want to go to him because I was like, I need to do this. But now it's like crunch time. I was like, I'm gonna be like living in my car. I mean, I don't even have a car at this point because when I did my commercial loan, I put up my car, put up my house, I put up area. Oh gosh, and I was like, you know, if I borrow this money, I said I'll pay you back in a year. You know, because I didn't want to get lazy with it and think it's just because it's my, like, you know, with my family helping me out, I had some slide. So he said, okay, so he let me borrow it, I paid him back, and I haven't borrowed anything since from him. I paid off our commercial loan, I paid off everything, credit cards, all that, no more debt, and you know, and I hope to keep it that way.
Still in business.
And we're still in business. Because what we did, we became leaner. I realized that, you know, I actually now like to operate with less capital. You know, I feel like it keeps us more on our toes. I feel like, you know, just having less resources keeps us just that much more innovative. Because even when we had an office in Bethesda, it was 140 square feet. I had 3 people in there. Now, once you put desks in there, I mean, you're talking about barely enough to walk around. And we did tutoring, so we had bookshelves, so we had books and all this. So you're talking about a very small space. Yeah.
How many is we now?
Well, so at the time, it was 3 of us. Last year...
No, when you started, there was just you.
When I started, it was just me.
And how many do you have now?
Well, now, so this time, so we're cyclical. So like, so what will happen is that last year we had about 40 tutors and I had 3 people in the office. We worked with about 300 students.
Anyone full time?
Yeah, the 2 people in the office, and me were full time. And then the 40 tutors are all part time because tutoring is after school.
And you get the tutors, are they mainly college students or?
No, we do. Because of the type of tutoring we do, we look for people who with degrees who know how to work with struggling students. You know, so like we're looking for people with degrees. Most people have had teaching experience, had day-to-day teachers, have a master's degree or something like that. We're looking for people who really know how to work with a struggling learner. What we do is it always stops in the summer. It falls off in the summer and then we ramp back up. And because it's part-time, so we'll lose almost all of our tutors. And we started back up, so I was fortunate enough to get a grant. So I have some tutors doing this grant, but the grant, being a grantee versus a vendor is totally different. Being a grantee, like the government's like line by line. What are you doing? You know, how many toothbrushes, how many pencils are you gonna buy? Whereas you're a vendor, they're like, all right, for this money, you'll do this service. And that's much better. So now we're a grantee, and we're hoping to do more vendor relationships. So there's still some things on the table, but we're definitely.
Are charter schools an opportunity for you?
So charter schools are our opportunity, but with this waiver, charter schools are kind of decreasing their tutoring as well.